30 seconds. We're pulling in. I'm running just a little bit late today. A lot I want to cover today as far as 2024, future of 2025, future of the podcast. I also want to cover some things I'm going to do in a video for the main channel, which is the Supreme Court's decision to basically not hear the attacks or the lawsuit against the state of California, specifically the California Air Resource Board. I'll get to that a little bit later today. Let me pull in. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. I will not be doing an episode on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I will be doing one on New Year's Eve and New Year's. I will not be doing one on New Year's Day, but I will be doing one on New Year's Eve. So tomorrow, Tuesday, December 24th, and Wednesday, December 25th, there is no podcast episode. We'll be back on December 26th. Merry Christmas, Skylar. Absolutely. Two things I want to mention real quickly. Number one, I just want to remind people that there is the merchandise store. I've gotten some emails about how can you support the channel financially, which I'm really appreciative of. I'm appreciative of the ask. The merchandise store, super chat, super like, and now they have the gift thing on YouTube like they do TikTok. So, if you're into any of that stuff, I would appreciate it. Okay, today I want to just kind of look at the fact that the Supreme Court of the United States of America is not going to see lawsuits against the state of California, specifically against the California Air Resource Board and the Clean Truck Act. And the reason why, if you actually read, hi everybody, if you actually read the response from the 7 justices that said they weren't going to hear the case, it is that the argument that it bans the sale of certain vehicles was incorrect. Basically, if you read the dissertations, it basically states that the companies that brought the lawsuit against the California Air Resource Board do not have an understanding of the law. And they're trying to, basically how it was put by one of the justices, in layman's terms, they tried to twist a law into a ban. Okay. I was telling my new boss, because my new boss has been sold on that there's a motorhome ban. And I'm like, there isn't. It's a voluntary ban. It's the chassis companies volunteered not to apply to the California Air Resource Board's rules and regulations that's set in place. And even the Supreme Court of the United States even sees that. Even the Supreme Court of California saw that. They all see that they're using this platform and other platforms to promote a misdirection to try to get the law reversed. And it's crazy. Thank you. It is a nice shirt. And yes, Star Trek is pretty cool. So it's kind of crazy how the thought pattern of these lovely companies is, let's use social media, let's use influencers, let's scare dealers, and this isn't just RVs, this is also commercial trucking, this is also commercial delivery, etc. Now, what they don't realize, and I don't think these companies, I got it from a thrift shop. A lot of companies don't realize that if they came out and told the people of California that they were protesting this law, they wouldn't have had to go to the Supreme Court like that. They could have gone to the Supreme Court with, hey, we did a poll amongst 5 million Californians, and they all agree the law doesn't make sense. Instead of going, they're banning the sale of Freightliner trucks. They're banning the sale of motorhomes. Well, they're not. And that's the problem. See, even my new boss was sold that January 1st, no motorhomes can be sold in California. And I'm like, dude, that's not true. And he's so sold on it. A lot of dealers are sold on it. And the ones that are not sold on it, the ones that understand the law, are going to make a bunch of money. Because they're the ones that are going to go out and get all the used motorhomes that they can and sell them. So it's good stuff. I mean, the Supreme Court, for having, and everybody gets upset because the Supreme Courts have a lot of conservative judges, yet conservative judges have ruled in favor of environmental concern over and over and over again over the last 3-4 years. People point to Roe v. Wade, which I understand that. I'm not going to get in an argument over Roe v. Wade. But what I will say is that's all they look at. They don't look at, this is the 5th time that they have not taken on a case about a law in a state dealing with clean air, dealing with water pollution, dealing with anything. They basically have told the corporations, pound sand. And it's both. It's both the liberal and the conservative judges on a lot of these Supreme Courts are like, no. Now, I feel like the law is stupid. My personal opinion is, reading through the law, it's just plain dumb, because it's not going to stop anybody in California that wants to buy a motorhome. It's not going to stop them from buying a motorhome. Okay? Anybody that wants to buy a diesel truck isn't, they aren't going to stop buying diesel trucks. They're going to go to other states and buy them. They're going to go to more tax-friendly states, regulation-free states, and buy their trucks and bring them back and register them, because there's no law preventing them from flying to Texas, buying an 18-wheeler, driving it back to California, and registering it. Nothing stopping them from it, right? There's nothing stopping them from going to Nevada, picking up a cargo van or a work van, bringing it back to California, and registering it. Nothing's going to stop that. The only thing you did, realistically, is want more money. That's realistically what it is. I mean, reality is it's a cash grab. California is losing tax revenue. You know, they're losing they're losing money because of their clean air initiatives. And so they got to find a way to make money on those clean air initiatives. So let's come up with a system that is not profitable at all for companies, because that's the realistic part. This self-imposed ban, self-imposed, not regulated, self-imposed by Roadmaster, by Freightliner, by Ford, by all these chassis companies, they've chosen not to build these zero-emission vehicles for California and the other states. So it's been a law in effect for 2 years. It's been put into place for 2 years. There's the credits available to build combustion motors, all that stuff. But the reality is that these zero-emission vehicles are not profitable by any means for these automakers, for these chassis makers. They thought it would be, because you got rebate incentives, tax incentives, You have all these incentives that the governments, federal, state governments across the US give you to buy a hybrid, to buy an electric vehicle, to buy a clean, idle diesel truck or diesel Freightliner truck. But yet, they have found out over the last 4 years, it's not profitable. Tesla has it down where they have a business model that makes it profitable. But every other electric car company like Rivian and others that are strictly electric vehicles have not made a profit at all. It's very expensive. If you were to make money on an EV, let's use these Amazon vans as an example that are full electric, or these FedEx vans that are full electric now, okay? From what I'm understanding, from listening to a lot of guys that are techie type of guys on YouTube and TikTok, they sell that van for around $100,000. It costs roughly about $92,000 to build it and ship it. That's including the R&D. I mean, you're talking about not the initial build, but if you take the cost of the research and development, the shipping of the parts, the money they have to set aside for warranty, all that stuff, it costs north of $90,000. Then you got to ship it to a dealer. A dealer then has to make a little bit of money. So let's say the dealer is going to make $4,000 and the Amazon truck builder, let's say it's Ford, is going to make $4,000 on $90,000. It doesn't make sense. By the time you pay a shareholder, by the time you pay insurance, by the time you pay taxes, that $4,000 comes to like $4 or $5. See, that's where we have an issue in the world, not just in the United States, but the entire world. And that issue is we hear that a company made $20 billion in profit in a quarter. But that's a headline that catches eyes. But what you don't realize is that $20 billion in profit, there's money taken out of that. There's a difference between the top line profit, which is called gross, and net. So I'll give you an example. I'm not defending anybody, but the average CEO of a company, not with stock, I'm talking about just salary and bonuses, takes home less than 0.25% of the net profit of a company. Now, the money for a CEO and a founder is all in stock price, okay? In my industry, we're going to use Don Clark as an example. Don Clark was the president of Grand Design RV. He cashed out close to $30 million in stock over the last 2 years, okay? But I bet you if we asked Winnebago for his earnings that he made in the last 4 years, I bet it doesn't even come close to that number because of how much. So I'll give you an example. Here's something like when a company loses money, gross profit, it's a big headline. When they make $20 billion gross, when they lose $20 billion gross, it's a big number. But we don't look at the little things that are taken out of that number. Taxes, insurance, lawsuit claims, workman's comp, warranty, miscellaneous. Investors have to get their dividends. There's a big process to a Fortune 500 company. When a guy makes $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion, when you're an Elon Musk, when you're a Jeff Bezos, you are rich on paper. You are cash poor, paper rich. Because it costs so much money to run a Walmart, to run a Target, to run a mom and pop shop. Guys, it's the same If you're a small business owner, you understand that your money, your wealth is in the real estate and the assets, not in cash. Okay, so RV dealerships, it's all in the real estate. An owner of an RV or a car or a boat dealership takes home less than 0.5% of the gross profit of the entire year. So if they gross $1 million, they take home usually between 10 and 15 grand. That's a reality. For an RV, a car dealership, anybody of that nature to make money, to make, let's say, 100, 200 grand a year take home, they have to do $8 to $10 million a year in gross profit. But that's not where the wealth is. The wealth is in assets. That's where the wealth is. The wealth is when they start taking money out of the business, refinancing it, or refinancing the real estate and taking the money out and investing in other businesses. The money, what I've learned, and that's the reason why I'm working on several flows of income, is taking whatever debt or money that you have and making it work for you to create more income. Good morning, Mike. So the reality is that it's just a bigger number because it's a bigger company. Look, Big Lots just closed their doors. In the last 5 years, they've did $42 million in gross profit. Why are they closing their doors? If they made $42 million in 3 years, why did they close their doors? Because 42 million is a big number, 42 billion is a big number. But after they take out all the money to pay things, that profit went out the window. Party City went out of business. $60 billion in profit since 2019. So don't be fooled by a news report saying that a company made $100 billion. Okay, so if you made $100 billion in profit, what do you have to take out of that? What's going to be the bottom line? What's going to be the last line of defense for an oil company, for a battery company, for a mechanic that works at a mom and pop shop? What's the bottom line, right? So that's why this self-imposed protest that chassis manufacturers are having against California and other states is, to me, a good thing. Okay? The electric vehicle is not profitable and going to put these guys out of business. So they would rather say, screw it, we're not doing business in California anymore, and any other state that does this, we'll just wipe our hands, and the people in California will travel to Nevada, Arizona, and Texas to buy their stuff. Fact of life. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's sad because it's going to put some businesses out of business. And sometimes we just have to realize the levers we pull, right? So, we're running out of money. Okay, let's create another tax. But they don't think about what that tax, when you pull that lever on that tax, what other levers get pulled along with it? All they know is they're out of money and they got to collect money. Okay? You got 24 states this year going into 2025. They're raising their gas tax. I mean, California's the lowest, actually, but they already have a high gas tax. But just as an example, taxes are going up. Okay? They're going up because revenue's being lost. So it's a double-edged sword of sorts, right? Taxation without representation, right? So everybody's looking forward to Trump going drill, baby, drill. And I'll give you an example. I got a buddy of mine that lives in Idaho. And he goes, I think they're at like $2.50 a gallon, $2.49 a gallon, something like that where he lives, okay? And he goes, I can't wait for it to get under $1.80 again. And I go, well, did your state pass any gas taxes? And he goes, no. And he called me yesterday, late last night. He goes, oh my God, Idaho passed a freaking gas tax. We're never going to get below $2. And I go, well, you'll probably be around $2. So why? Because Idaho is losing tax revenue. So they had to find somewhere that they could collect. Give you an example. They can't tax electricity. It's illegal for most states to add a tax for people to charge their vehicle at a charging station. You know, they have found ways around it to tax you at your home. Okay. But there's no way to tax somebody on charging their vehicle. At least they haven't figured out how to do that yet. Okay. The other thing you have to kind of look at too, which is very interesting and very, like, in a way, a very positive thing, is this will start to move people out of office because people are going to get ticked. People in general across the United States, across Canada, across a lot of the world, not just the United States, but across the world, want smaller government, less spending, less taxes. Okay? So when stuff like this starts to happen, when more money starts getting in people's pockets, they start voting conservative because they don't want to lose that. They don't want to give it up because of some social program or because it's we're deplorables or whatever the case may be. Most of us, human beings in general, we just want to live out our life. We just want to live life to the fullest. We want to build memories. We want to raise a family. We want to be able to sleep at night and not worry about how we're going to feed our family the next day. We don't want to, not all of us want to be rich and famous. Okay. Not all of us want to be, happiness for a lot of us is different per person. That's what makes us so unique. You know, happiness for me is basically growing this podcast, videoing. I want to make it my career. I still want to be in the RV industry at the RV dealership, but I want to get to a point where I've got $6,000 or $7,000 a month coming in from different income sources. Because I don't want to ever live in a car again. And just getting a job isn't the answer. There's a lot of answers. And it's one of the unique things about us. There are people who are garbage truck pickup. There's people who pick up our garbage. After a hard day work, popping open a beer and laughing and smiling and stinking to high heaven, they are the happiest people on earth. They know what their paycheck's going to be. They go work hard for that paycheck. It's a secure job for them. They have a nice little place they live at, whether it's an apartment, whether it's a house. They're raising a couple of kids. They have a beautiful wife at home. A lot of blue collar guys are happy being able to, okay, it's Friday. I'm going fishing tomorrow on Saturday. I'm taking the family with me. They don't care if they had $1 million in the bank, they'd be fine. If they didn't have $1 million in the bank, but they had that steady paycheck, they'd be just as happy, if not happier. So the reality is we all build memories and enjoy life differently. This is why I've always said on my videos and on this podcast, when you're going to buy an RV, you got to do it for the right reasons. You don't buy a motorhome because of miles per gallon. You don't buy a travel trailer because it's a financial investment. You buy this stuff because you're buying into a lifestyle. It's like if you were a swinger. If you're a swinger, you have to buy into that lifestyle somehow, some way. There's a lot of things involved. Costumes, parties, alcohol, things of that nature. If you're going to be a nomad, a van nomad. I don't know if you guys have seen that lifestyle, but they basically take an old 1960s Volkswagen bus or Volkswagen van, and they travel around the country and they do odds and ends jobs out of that van, and they've converted it into a sleeper van. It's nothing fancy. Okay? You have to buy into that lifestyle. It's not a financial investment. Okay? It's nothing that's going to make you money. RVing does not make you money. If everybody looked at an RV as a financial investment, nobody would go do it. You know, it's the same purchase as your TV. It's the same purchase as your refrigerator. It's the same purchase as you going down and getting a float tube or a dinghy or a kayak. It's the same purchase, just with a bigger dollar amount. Same purchase. It's the same purchase as a surfboard. Same purchase. And I'm actually going to do a video on this at the beginning of the year on the main channel, because I think sometimes people have this misunderstanding that because it's registered with a Department of Motor Vehicles, that it has to be a grind to buy something. Okay? Cars, I understand cars. Cars make you money. Cars are an investment. Okay? Because cars are a 3-year program. Maybe a 4-year program, depending on who you are. Now, some of us, we keep our cars 10, 15 years. But a lot of folks, it's a 3 to 4 year program. So I don't blame a person buying a Hyundai Velociter to call 50 Hyundai dealerships across the U.S. and try and negotiate a deal. And Larry, that was a fugazi. That was fake. Because everything was skyrocket high. It was all fake. I mean, if you're going to get out of your RV, it was perfect because you basically got what you bought it for. But if you went into another RV afterward, you didn't get ahead. You're still in the same spot. In fact, you're probably worse off. So, but an RV does not have to be a grind. It doesn't mean, oh, just lay down for whatever price the dealer wants. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it shouldn't be a grind. You know, buy local, work them a little bit by using somebody else's number. But if it costs you $1,000 more to buy at your local dealership compared to driving 700 miles to save $1,000, pay the $1,000. Keep your local guy in business. Otherwise, it's going to turn into... I'm going to tell you this. You guys, I know you guys don't understand this, but if you guys continue to wait because you think there's going to be some kind of bottom dropout, you're going to lose mom and pop. It's going to be a big set of 5 corporations, and they're all going to raise their profit margins because they're all going to have investors. You know, if you were a person who owned a motorhome for like 8 years and sold it in 2021 for like maximum money and sat on the sidelines for 3 years, you're in it. You're in the bottom. time to go buy. Time to get ready. Tampa Bay show, Pleasanton in California. You know, January and mid-February are going to be the 2 best months. Because here's the thing. The RV industry is way behind the times. Okay? They still have their prices lowered, even though we already hit the bottom. It's time to go back up. Okay? But they're behind on that. Some dealers watch my videos and go, well, we don't feel like it's at the bottom. It's slower than a 7-year itch right now. Well, yeah, it's December and we're fighting Santa Claus and we're fighting champagne toasts at New Year's. And pretty soon we're going to fight the everybody worrying about their tax bill. So it's just one of those situations where once they've caught up, you're going to lose out on some pretty good deals. But again, I don't want you to rush if you're not ready. See, that's the thing. I told a couple yesterday on Saturday. I talked to this couple. They came into the store and I was talking to them and I could tell that they're not ready. They want to be ready, but I could tell they're not ready. And the reason I could tell they're not ready is they didn't have their plan yet. Okay? They came in with a mindset. He's got a Toyota Tundra. She's got a little commuter car. The Tundra tows about 9,000 pounds from what we could tell. And everything, and they're bigger people. He's tall, his kid's tall. Everything they looked at that they could tow with that Tundra was a little too small for them. And then they walked into one of the used fifth wheels these guys have on the lot. And they're like, wow, this would actually work really good. And we start talking about truck and what it takes to get a truck and what kind of truck they need and things of that nature. And the one thing I did tell them is they need to go home and discuss, because I said, you know, they own both cars free and clear. They have great credit. Their one thing is they need to go home and talk about whether they want to get into something small and just use the Tundra, because the Tundra is set up really nice for camping, by the way. Or or option B, get another truck and buy a fifth wheel. The only thing I told them is if you're going to finance both, you need to come set up the loan on the fifth wheel before you buy the truck. And they left. And it is what it is. I mean, they just weren't ready. They want to be ready, though. I think they'll buy in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But you could tell people are starting to get the sense. And it's not because of this podcast, but it's because you're starting to see a lot of positive energy out there. People are willing to spend money. People are willing to spend credit, go buy vehicles on credit, buy vehicles for cash. Let me put it this way. This dealership sold 22 travel trailers in November in a 2-week period. A buddy of mine who actually works at a used RV lot, between November 10th and yesterday, has sold 65 used motorhomes. So guys, it's happening. It's not going to be pretty for real estate next year. It's not going to be pretty for the auto industry next year. But let me tell you, I keep telling folks, the RV, the boat, and the power sports industry, the signs are already there for a recovery. And the first sign is when gas prices before taxes go down, which they already have started to. And number 2, when grocery prices crash down a little bit in 2025, probably around February, March, people are going to go, oh, I've got more money in my pocket. And they're going to go out and spend it. Because we can't take it with us. People are not going to go and take the $300 a month they're saving in groceries and go, oh, I'm going to stash that into an investment and it's going to grow to $1 million by the time I'm 196 years old. No, they're going to take the $300 and they're going to go buy a toy. They're going to buy something that they can buy for $200 a month, $250 a month, and they're going to go and enjoy it, whether that's a quad or side-by-side or an RV or a boat or, you know, a video game console, whatever it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be like, it's going to be busy. Okay? It's going to suck for real estate. But it's not going to suck. And it's going to suck for the stock market. But I don't think people realize, like, we're not going to have a crash. And I know I've talked about that before, but let me go one step further than I have. I told a group of people I was talking to yesterday, early in the morning, at the gym. We were having a discussion. And the discussion was, one of them was waiting because he thinks he can buy a $10 million house in San Francisco in the Bay Area for $3 to $4 million in the middle of next year. Okay. And his thought pattern is cash is going to be king next year. A lot of things. And I sat there and he looked at me and he says, you disagree? And I said, yeah, I disagree. But I think cash down is going to be king next year. But I believe that house that's $10 million right now, I think you're going to buy it for between 8 and 9 million. I said, it's not going to be 08, 09, that kind of crash. But I think you're going to get good deals. I think that $500,000 house that was bought 3 years ago is going to get purchased for $425,000, $440,000. I think that the house that was sold for $750,000 2 or 3 years ago is going to be purchased for $680,000, $675,000, somewhere around there. I don't think we're going to get a $750,000 house that sold 2 years ago for $350,000. That just doesn't pencil. We don't have a mortgage crisis. We have an Airbnb crisis. But when investment groups dump that kind of inventory on the market, it's not going to create a frenzy of crashed prices. It's going to cause people to buy them, but buy them at more reasonable prices than they were able to during COVID. So it's not going to be a crash. It's the word I've been using for the last 4 years. It's going to be a correction. The housing market will correct itself. The stock market's going to correct itself. RVs have already corrected themselves. Cars are just about there, especially used. Used cars are already corrected. Boats have already corrected themselves. So there's just that. And after talking to them about it, they went, well, what makes you think that? And I said, because there isn't a mortgage crisis. This isn't a case where a bunch of people are going to foreclose on their homes. So a lot of people have 2 and 3% loans on their homes. I said, what's going to correct the market is the Airbnb and Vrbo people are going to dump their houses onto the market as states and cities start cracking down and getting rid of short-term rentals. So yeah, groceries are going to come down. Groceries will come down, but they're not going to crash. They're going to correct themselves. So groceries, this is how groceries will come down. Groceries will come down as energy prices come down. So if no matter who it is, whether it's Trump, whether it's Harris, whoever it was, if energy prices start going down, the cost of food goes down. The cost to grow the food, the cost to harvest the food, the cost to transport the food goes down. Okay? Now, there's going to be a point in time where the profit margin is going to be really wide. But the reality is that the profit margin will come down because somebody is going to lower their price as their cost goes down. And I have a feeling it'll be Kroger that will start the domino effect. I think Kroger, because I went in, I think Safeway is part of Kroger, if I remember right. But I went to Safeway on Saturday, and I'm used to paying like, every time I get like 4 or 5 apples, I'm used to paying like anymore like $6, which is outrageous for apples. I mean, it's craziness. And yesterday I got 5 apples, and I'm like, oh God, it's gonna be like $6, $7. It was $4.80. So the reality is that I think Kroger Foods will be the first domino to go, okay, this is our opportunity to take market share from Walmart, Target, etc. And because they are more specialized in the grocery industry compared to Walmart and Amazon and Target, they are going to be a little closer to looking at cost per average for everything from meat to vegetables to fruits. I just had, I'm in a group on Facebook that tracks grocery prices and where the best prices are for eggs and milk. And someone was saying that Ralph's in Arizona, I think it's Ralph's, I have to look again, egg prices went down $1.25 per dozen. So instead of being like $5, it was like $3.75. So I think that is going to be a slow, it's not going to be something that's going to go from a gallon of milk's $5 to a gallon of milk is $1.50. It's not going to be anything like that, but it's going to get to the point where people are going to look at their grocery bill and go, oh, wow, I thought it was going to be more than that. When we start hearing that again, that's when we know that that balance of energy is going to do it. So remember that revenue and market share are also just as important to a business as profit. Kroger Foods tried to merge with Albertsons, if I remember right. And of course, they struck that down because they don't want them to monopolize. But I have a feeling that Kroger Foods wants to figure this out, and they're more concerned with market share than they are with profit right now. Profit will stay. There you go, Mike. Hey, nothing wrong with that. My mom has chickens, so I understand that. But just kind of things to just kind of be on the lookout for. 2025 is going to be, excuse my language, but going to be an absolute shit show for the most part. But there's going to be these small little things, these small little gaps of things that are going to make hopefully life better. So I'm looking forward to that. What else was I going to? Oh, so for Christmas, I'm just going to work Uber. But it was interesting. My kids and their mother went to Seattle, and they were on the train for like almost a full day because of a derailment before Eugene, Oregon. And they didn't get to their destination till about 4 hours and 44 minutes ago. Just goes to show you, trains, planes, and automobiles, everything breaks down. It's just a matter of when. That's why I laugh about stuff. Somebody was telling me that Liz Amazing's viewership has gone down. I don't see that. She's posting less videos, but I don't see her viewership going down. I see Miles RV, MYLES RV, and Josh the RV Nerd, and myself, and Matt's RV Reviews and Big Truck Big Grub RV, I see our viewership going down. That's kind of normal with the holidays. But somebody was saying that Liz Amazing's viewership has gone down. And I'm like, I didn't see that. I actually saw that her viewership has gone up. Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. But c'est la vie. Looking forward. This is looking forward to Spotify, Amazon Music. I'm looking forward to going back on all the podcast platforms. I'm looking forward to a lot of fun stuff. I'm very excited for the future. I'm very excited for the present. I know that I have my moments. Trust me, guys. I have my moments where I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall. But yeah, I gotta call Hyundai Financial. I gotta get that car repossessed. I never thought that I would repossess a car. I've never done it. I've never thought that I would repossess a car. And I never thought in a million years I'd have a great conversation with a credit card company. I had a conversation with Chase yesterday. No, not yesterday. I'm sorry. It was Friday. And the guy at Chase, they were trying to get me into a program where they would suspend payments for 90 days. And just to give me a chance to kind of like catch up on some things. And I don't qualify for it, but they were telling me, like, the one lady was telling me, she goes, she goes, wow. She goes, you've had this credit card for 10 years. And I go, yeah. She goes, this is the first 2 years you've ever carried a balance past December. And I go, yeah. I'm used to just wiping all my debt out at the end of the month. And yeah. So it's kind of interesting that I want to say something that probably is obvious, but doesn't get said. There are people a lot worse off than most of us. Happy birthday, Shark Team. Yesterday or over the weekend, I drove through Stockton, California doing Uber and just dropping people off. There were some rides in and out of Stockton, especially by the university. And I drove to drop this lady off from Walmart, and I go under this bridge that where the big freeway, the 5 freeway is. And there's this big bridge area. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and it literally looks, there's like a tent city there. It's got RVs, old ones. It's got tents. It's got makeshift cardboard houses. And there's big trash cans, metal trash cans that are having fires in them to keep people warm. And I looked around and I'm like, I'm blessed. I am very blessed that I'm working. I'm blessed that I have a game plan. I'm blessed that I have a focus and a goal that I know is attainable. And it makes me excited in a way. But another way, it makes me feel like this could have been worse. And I'm glad it wasn't. But very interesting. I gotta get that car repossessed. I gotta get it out of there. God, I totally forgot about it. Jesus Christ, it's so busy. I totally forgot about it. Here's Hyundai Financial calling. I'm like, oh, crap. You know what? I got to get a hold of those guys. I might wait until Thursday. I'll try call them today. Wow. You know, I really think that for the most part, life has its ups and downs, but I think I know that we have a lot to look forward to as humanity. Anyway, Merry Christmas to everybody. Again, I won't be on tomorrow or Christmas Day. Be back on December 26th. And I am going to do a New Year's Eve show in the morning. But I'm not doing one on New Year's Day. Thursday, I'm going to talk a little bit about college football, because I'm going to get in the habit of talking about college football because I like college football. But yeah, anyway, you guys have a great Christmas, safe holiday, and have a good one.